Like I left when we finished a show, I left wanting to take a piece of every part of the journey and make it into a dish.
Hello, hello. So glad you could join me. Whether you're listening or watching, I welcome you. I'm your host, Michaela Pereira. This show is really dedicated to celebrating the exceptional, the innovative, and the heartfelt. We're also going to talk about some things. It feels to me, I don't know if I'm alone here, that we have gotten increasingly disconnected. These screens that are meant to connect us to the world seem to have separated us from one another. We've forgotten how to talk to one another. Then you add the distance of the pandemic, and not to mention the political divide. So many of us, I think, are seeking authentic human connection. You know what the greatest connector is? Food. You know who knows a whole lot about food? Chef Carla Hall. Yes, you know and love her from Top Chef, of course, from The Chew. Well, she set out on an epic journey. I'm a little envious, in fact, to discover the roots of some of the most familiar dishes that we all eat.
People say you can't buy happiness, but you can buy ice cream, which is pretty much the same thing if you think about it.
This is so good.
For me, some of my happiest times were with my grandmother, churning it together on the front porch. Ice cream lives in our hearts. But have you ever wondered, how did it get there?
Her brand new show is called Chasing Flavor. It's available on Max. And Chef Carla joins me now, and I'm so excited to connect with, talk about connection, connect with you.
I know, it is so great to finally see you in person.
We've admired each other from afar for a long time.
Yes, we've DM'd.
We have DM'd. She slid into my DMs, I slid back. So this whole notion of connecting through food, this is something that is intrinsic to who you are.
Yes. I started cooking so long ago, but for Chasing Flavors, it really came about because of my love of people. Because I genuinely like people. I tell people that is my superpower. Like, I don't pretend to like people. I really like people. And it started from talking to a producer, unbeknownst to me. I just happened to be, I was at a dinner party, you know, people talk. And I was saying how when I'm in a car service and the driver is from another country, instead of asking like, how are you doing? I will say, hey, what are some of the dishes that you miss from home? And then watch how their faces change because it's personal, and they start talking about family and those dishes, and it is so amazing to see. And so that dinner conversation 2 weeks later became a conversation with a production company. 6 weeks later, I was shooting like a sizzle. I mean, then it took a long time for the deal to get together.
But it slid right in.
It slid right in. It slid right in.
And it took, what, 84 countries? 84 days,
84
rather?
days.
84 days
7
on
countries.
the road.
Yeah. But it was back and forth. So
Okay.
we did all of the domestic stuff. We came back. It was during the holidays. And then we went back out, you know. So it wasn't straight. I mean, maybe 2 weeks at the most straight. It was fantastic. And it was really about people.
Right. In a way, it struck me, I was thinking about this, you kind of set out as a culinary anthropologist in a way, right?
Yeah.
Because you're there to discover the food, but when you find food, you find people.
That's right.
And if you
That's
talk
right.
to people, you find out about their food.
That's
We're
right.
interconnected.
They are interconnected. And also, I knew going in that I wanted to give credit to the cultures that weren't a part of the regular story.
Say more.
You know, like for instance, I mean, take ice cream, and then I talk about Augustus Jackson, and I talk about Hemmings, and so we don't really talk about the contribution of Black people in ice cream. We definitely don't talk about Turkish ice cream. If you're in Turkey and that part of the world,
That's
of course
the
you
only
talk
ice cream
about
you know.
it.
You don't call it
Exactly.
Turkish ice cream because it's just ice cream.
But when you think about food and how as it travels, it becomes a butterfly effect when you're traveling and you get to a place and the thing that you love isn't there, but there's something also new that's there. So you take what you know, what is already there, and it becomes something else.
I think about even what Americans know as Chinese food, right, is so different from the food that you would find in the various and expansive nation of China, right? That's a really good example. In it, were you surprised along the way? What surprised you, I think maybe is a better question.
I was surprised about Turkish ice cream. I was I was surprised about hot chicken and how.
You mean the thing that's taken over the nation? It feels
Okay,
like.
right?
Are they happy about this?
So, so that the legacy is with the family who is from Nashville.
Okay.
And so the guy who started it, Princess, I'm menopausal, so I can't pull out his name. So pause for the minute.
The
It will
Prince
not come.
family.
The Prince family.
Yeah.
And then Miss Jeffries, who is the niece of the guy who started it, she is in control of it. And so her name is Miss Jeffries. Her name is Miss Jeffries. And her daughter Simone. So they work in the restaurant. But I remember I wanted to open a hot chicken restaurant in New York. So I went back to the Prince's family and I was like, hey, I'm going to open up a restaurant. And I was kind of asking, like, give me your blessing. I wasn't asking for a blessing. I was telling them to give me a blessing.
Right.
What I realized in hindsight.
Yes.
And it was a little cold, but I said, oh, they must be busy today. Okay, because I was, what? It wasn't until, that this is 4 years later, I am shooting Chasing Flavor, and I'm in the kitchen with Simone Jeffries and Miss Andre Jeffries. And they were talking about how their name, first it was Prince's Barbecue. When Miss Jeffries took it over, you know, she, in like I forget exactly when she took it over, she changed it to Hot Chicken. And so it became Prince's Hot Chicken. And then there was a Hot Chicken Festival.
Yes.
And then other people were invited.
And then it grows and it grows and it grows and it grows.
As it grows, names are dropped out.
Right.
So it became from Prince's Hot Chicken to Nashville Hot Chicken. And then when people are doing it all over the country, then it drops Nashville, it becomes Hot Chicken.
Do they feel any kind of way?
Yes, they do.
They do.
And
They want to share their food.
They want to share their food, but they also want to get credit.
They
the
want
legacy
acknowledgement.
is in their name.
Yes.
So I didn't realize that until I was filming. And then I felt the shame of when I went to them 4 years prior
Right.
without really understanding that, and how they can't throw out their trash because people are dumpster diving trying to figure out their
Come on
recipes.
now. Come on.
Yeah, and so you think about that, and then but it was like, even in the ice cream episode, it was Philadelphia ice cream, which didn't have eggs, and Philadelphia ice cream became American style ice cream, right? So it lost the location that brought it, like Augustus Jackson, but then it became American style ice cream versus custard style or French style ice cream. When you go to Baskin Robbins, which I worked there, you know, it's like,
You didn't know all this when you were working at
I
Baskin
didn't know
Robbins.
that. I was like, I want the yellow ice cream. I want the French ice cream, the French vanilla.
Right, right.
And that's why it was called that, because it had egg.
Do you find now that it is the way you're even approaching food has changed because you want to understand from whence it came?
Yes.
And I'm not even talking about farm to table. I'm talking about the genesis of who created that dish.
Yes. And also how I can pull, like, I left when we finished a show, I left wanting to take a piece of every part of the journey and make it into a dish, honoring all of the people who had a hand. Because generally you create something new, you leave the old behind, you have the new. You know, even on social media, and you put something delicious out, and they're like,
Right.
recipe? They don't want story.
No.
They're not asking. They didn't
just
say
want they
story.
want to know how to make it at home.
Recipe.
Right.
You know, and I am asking people to think about the story. And so when I recreate dishes, I think about, hey, how can I incorporate some of the history of this? So when people ask, hey, why did you do that? But that's also a catch-22, because when I changed like one of the patties, so the Jamaican patty, so I did it with phyllo because it's a fast way to do it,
Sure.
and then I did ground pork. Shout out the Jamaicans. Y'all
Oh
know
no,
you did.
those are my people. Those are my people.
Y'all
They
came
came
after
for
me.
They came for you.
Y'all, I can actually talk to you directly. Came after me, right? And so,
my goodness.
in that moment, though, I was
Yeah.
like, "Do you realize that it came from England?"
Right.
I mean, right? So,
Everything is derivative of something else. So that
Yes.
I suppose that became the challenge for you when you're taking a look at the history of food. I mean, we can go back to biblical times. We can go back to et cetera, et cetera. how you can keep going back as far as you need to.
You
I
can keep going
suppose.
back, but you could also go left, you can go right.
Right.
Like with ice cream, do we go to Italy or do we
Sure.
go to France?
And
I mean,
there's no wrong or right answer.
exactly.
Right.
So we were telling people it's not the definitive route that we took.
It's an exploration.
It's an exploration. We chose a route, right? And so every story is valid.
Yeah.
And that's what I want people to get from it. Every story is valid. We want to own, we want to feel a sense of connection to a recipe, and we want to own it. And I get that.
Yeah.
But you have to also allow people to own their part.
There's this battle going on right now with the crispy chili and Momofuku and David Chang. And there's a whole conversation because they're trying to copyright it and all the other people that are making their versions. I mean, these are conversations that will always come up.
Yeah.
It's about ownership, but then it's about commerce, right?
Yeah, it's about commerce, and I think so. The chili crisp, right? You almost can't own
A flavor.
a flavor, a recipe. You can own the recipe.
It becomes really complicated.
It does.
It
It
becomes
does.
really complicated.
And I think after doing this show,
Yeah.
I think that it gets uncomplicated when you're honoring this is inspired by.
Yeah, good point. And this is where I say words matter, right? Words matter, intention matters. But there is the thing about intention and impact, right? You can
Yes.
have an intention of saying, I want to honor this, but the impact is the people you're trying to honor may not feel honored. Let me ask you about this. You know, I was thinking about the other part that you get to discover as you're journeying around the world. You had a rare red carpet rollout by being invited into these kitchens to break bread with people from around the globe, people you might not ever get a chance to meet before. It occurred to me that's the great beauty in food. The late Anthony Bourdain said it, that you can't hate someone you've broken bread with.
Yes.
You can't feel ill towards somebody if you sat at a table and shared a meal. You found that to be true everywhere you went. You don't have
100%.
a hateful bone in your body, but I imagine you saw that play out in various parts of the world.
Absolutely. I think there is, and this our State Department, the U.S. State Department does this. They have a food diplomacy program.
I did not know
They
this.
did. I mean, it was shut down for about 4 years, but it came back. But that program is about chefs going in and cook and basically cooking with people, sharing recipes, and understanding somebody's culture.
Wow.
Also, they do a lot of business around the table because when you are sitting around the
for real.
table and discussing,
Yeah.
it's hard to fight. It's hard
Right.
to fight when you're eating the same thing.
Yeah.
You know, and that's what's so interesting. I don't want to step my foot in it, but a lot of countries that are fighting, when you think about it, aren't you all eating the same food?
That's a really astute point. When you traveled, did you find yourself eating things and tasting things that you had never experienced before? Because I would imagine you have a sophisticated palate, Carla. But were there flavors that you suddenly were like, where have I been? I've never tasted this.
When you say sophisticated, I say I am a super taster. So I can detect, like, if these are fresh green beans versus some green beans that came from out of a bag.
Sure.
It's because I have tasted them side by side.
Yeah.
And I make it a point to
know.
and
Yeah.
to make that distinction and to try different things. Do I like very strong flavored foods like really stinky cheeses? No.
Okay.
I don't.
See, this is where our friendship may not have a Venn diagram of a crossing, because the stinkier the better, girl. I love me a stinky cheese.
My husband
with a nice
does
glass
too.
of wine.
I'm like, can you eat that outside?
It is pretty foul.
I mean, but the thing is, I know why I don't like something. So for me, it's like those foods and friends. So to answer your question,
I don't like stinky friends, just to be clear.
No,
Just to be clear. I didn't know if you were saying that I might. Yeah.
Like stinky cheese and friends, like blue cheese and friends.
I see.
You know, like blue cheese and walnuts and curry, and amazing. But okay, so when I was eating those crickets and bugs when I was in San Antonio, and the chef was talking about how he was incorporating these things, and he was like, "Hey, here, taste this." And I was like, okay.
Do I have to?
Right. And I said, okay, what are we going to do with it? He said, well, first of all, taste it. And it tasted kind of like dirt, kind of like earthy. But then he put it on the plancha, which is just a stovetop. And then he crisped them up. And then it was.
You're going to tell me that a crisped up grasshopper is going to taste better than a...
Yes.
Okay.
Because
I'm going to trust you on that one.
When I was in, where was I? Mozambique, and they had these bugs, and I don't remember the name, and it took me 15 minutes.
Did you have to fix your face to like, I'm going to not be rude, I'm going to try this?
I was chewing it forever.
Oh, no.
And it got smaller and smaller and smaller in my mouth.
You didn't do the trick when you were a kid, just grab a gulp of milk and swallow it down and choke it down before you could?
See, the thing is, I'm also very competitive, and you got a pen when you finish, and I was like, okay, I can do it. And I was like,
can I though?
The eyes were like this. So
that would have been a tough one.
But the thing is, you don't want to offend.
Of course, no, because it is about honor and tradition, and it's a welcome mat, as I'd said before.
Yes.
Right, I get
don't
that.
yuck somebody else's yum.
No, oh, I love that. I love don't yuck somebody else's yum. That is a great way to live. Are there places that you still are itching to go because you think those are bucket list places that I'd still like to go and explore food-wise?
Oh, there are tons of places. I know. I would just like to, after being in Jamaica and looking at the curries and how curries travel during the spice route, and how those dishes changed and where to go. I mean, you could just, and I've wanted to go to India for a very long time.
One of my dearest friends is from Assam, and I'm begging to go with her. So my family, I'm not going to tell my whole story here, but I found my birth family, my Jamaican side of my family. And a couple years ago, my auntie taught me how to make curry shrimp. I'm going to show you. I can't believe I'm offering to show Chef Carla.
Please.
But I'll cook with you in a kitchen because I think you would. I know this enough about a chef that you actually like being in the kitchen with friends and like making food together. That is a place of joy for you.
Yes, absolutely.
Then I will do that for you.
Oh, I love that. I mean, when I think about Indian food and curries, and I think about those little pots of spices, and and it also is a cuisine that teaches you how to use spices, and how to get the most flavor out of them, and how to bloom them, and how to finish with just a little bit of spice at the end so that it's so full.
Yeah.
Right? I love that.
Yeah. Now I'm hungry. That's the problem.
Oh yeah, that's my job. Oh, that's my job to make you hungry.
So that's the thing. Like, is it kind of a pain to go out for a meal with you?
Yes, it is.
Okay.
Oh no! Wait, what do you mean?
Like if we go to a restaurant, if I say I'm going to take you to this spot, that's a thumbs up from you.
Yeah.
It's one of my favorite Thai places in East LA. You're down. Am I you okay if I do the ordering, or are you going to be the one?
Oh my
okay.
God, it's your place.
Well, yeah,
you have to host me.
Oh, I have to host you.
You have to order it, right?
Okay,
you order what you love. And also nothing can be too low end for me. You know, the high low. A lot of people think chefs want to go to the high end places. No, I really want to go to the down and dirty, like where the locals go.
Yes.
100%.
Yes. In their travels, I wonder what people look. You and I walk around this world in these bodies, and sometimes we walk into places where we aren't the majority.
Yes.
Right. So I'm curious how that felt for you, because I mean this is our experience in life. But going to certain places in the world, walking in as this gorgeous Black woman, tall, stately, elegant, funny, warm, colorful. How did people respond?
They responded really well because it's energy.
It's all I was just about to say.
It's energy.
You've never met a stranger.
I've never met a stranger, and let me tell you this, and I didn't realize this. People were telling me repeatedly because we were going to places that they've been filmed, and people have been there. It wasn't.
They're savvy. This isn't. They aren't newbies.
But at least 4 times somebody said, "I've never said that to anybody." I'm not, like Mrs. Jeffries. Miss Jeffries, when she was talking about the chicken and the tough and how tough it was and the dumpster diving, her daughter turned to me and says, "Mama never talks about this."
You know what the difference is? The other people that have come in aren't lovers of people like you are.
Yeah.
And when you're lovers of people, you mine that, right? And because you also believe, and this is something else I want to ask you about, because I wonder if you're a rarity in kitchens, commercial kitchens, whatever kitchens that you are in, is that you insist on cooking with love.
Yes.
Like it is one of the main ingredients of everything. Well, I would argue probably everything you do, not just the
100%.
stuff in the kitchen, right?
Exactly. I tell people, you don't want me to be on a project that I don't want to be on. I don't want to cook. I mean, and I say, if you're not in a good mood, the only thing you should make is a what? A reservation, child. I mean, don't be messing up anybody's food.
But you know what? That can go awry too.
Okay.
Look, it can't go awry. You might want to pass that off to a friend and say, "Can you make me a reservation because I'm not,
Okay,
you
right.
know, for real." Oh my
Right.
goodness! But it's the truth.
It's the absolute truth, and I think that when you lead with your heart, and it's one of the things that I've learned to do just through spirituality, and I don't do well with being forced to do something. And I tell people when I'm here, I want to be there. Nobody's making me do the thing.
Yeah.
I really want to be there. And even some people who were on the shoot, they're like, yeah, Carla was really nice in the studio. I'm just waiting for the other shoe to drop. They just knew. And they're like, oh my God, we're on the 84th day and it hasn't happened yet. I was like,
Yeah, I'll keep waiting.
I know. It's happened with you, though. No, just kidding.
But isn't that funny though? Like
Yeah.
they almost don't know what to make of it. Listen, I could sit here and talk to you all day, but I have a feeling we're gonna have more to talk about. We might just have to do a part 2. Chef Carla Hall, you're a delight. You're brilliant. I've been waiting for this moment because I knew it was going to be exactly as it was. I want to thank you for spending time with me today and being in conversation. Chasing Flavors is available on Max
Yes.
right now. How many episodes total?
Six episodes.
Here's the thing. I'm a binger.
Yeah.
So, you know, I'm going to do some portion control on this binging because I want it to last forever.
You can binge it, and the shows are only like 30, 35 minutes, so it's
I like
bingeable.
it. Snack right in between.
Yeah.
And to all of you, thank you so much for listening and watching. Don't forget to subscribe, and we'll see you next time.